Hello, Hockey World. Today is Tuesday, January 29th, 2019,
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
on location. And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. We're going to do something real short and impromptu because one of those days where everybody's schedule is screwed up and the weather is just terrible. By the way, Russ, we'll pick on them tomorrow, but apparently it's minus 50 wind chill in Winnipeg today.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's like was the Super Bowl in Minnesota last year because they were talking about it being like minus 60 wind chill there. So I don't know if it was there last year, but that
It was. It was.
Oh God. Well, anyway, okay. Two things. We'll start off first, and because Russ is at a mall, I'll let him go on and not interrupt him as much. But a few hours after the webcast yesterday, the Leafs finally made that deal for that top four defenseman, which I'm sure everybody will miss me talking about. Trading their first round pick in 2019, Sean Jersey, second round pick in the last draft in Dallas, and prospect Carl Brunstrom to the LA Kings for Jake Muzzin. Russ, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, the Leafs got what they needed, so I give Kyle Dubas credit because that was something that the top 4D had eluded them for a couple of years now. Hainsey sort of filled the role, but he's a little bit past it. So it's a good get by them. It's a little bit of a steep price. There's no question. I mean, Sean Jersey is an overager, so he's an offensive defenseman. He's got pretty good ability already. Obviously, he's putting up points there. He plays the power play. He can walk the line. He can do everything you want an offensive defenseman to do. You know, he's six foot, so and then about 185, 195. So he's really a good prospect. He's a guy that I expect will make the NHL. But I don't know if he'll be anything more than a bottom pairing. But still, if he could start in the NHL, the Kings have a very good history of player development, especially with defensemen if you look at it. So
sure.
I expect he will play for them. And then Carl Brunstrom's a good player. I think, you take him away from the Leafs and he has a chance to make a team next year. I think he'll have a chance to make the Kings next year. Let him work it out with Ontario the rest of this year, maybe come up, the end of the year, get a little taste, let him work on whatever they want him to work on in camp. But he's already a pretty good skater and good size. And I like his – I don't think he's got a great scoring ability, but he certainly can score a little bit. And I think, you're talking about a guy that could get maybe 30 points, 35 points at the NHL level, but also play a tough game. And he's not slow, and that's the thing. He's a good skater, and he's still a heavy player, so it still sort of fits the old mold for the Kings.
Yeah, I remember when Mark Hunter, when he was drafted in 2016, that Mark Hunter referred to him as a Swedish Komarov. And if I had to compare him to players that other NHLers, I would compare him to like Thomas Holmstrom or Patrick Hornquist. He likes to go to the front of the net. He doesn't shy away from contact. He is a tough kid. He likes to mix it up, but he's not a fighter. And he, for 2 years in a row after playing in the SHL, came over and played really well for the Marlies in the Calder Cup playoffs. Last year, he was on their number one line with Andre and Mero Altman, and they won the Calder Cup. So it was he was one of their better prospects in the organization. But and I wrote this in my blog this morning. You have to give Kyle Dubas credit in the sense that they didn't give up Sandin, they didn't give up Liljegren, they didn't give up Kapanen or Janssen or Jeremy Bracco, who's leading the Marlies in scoring right now, and they got themselves a legitimate top four defenseman. So in that aspect, I think he did very well, and he also set the market in terms of the price that teams are going to have to pay for an impact player. I think Muzzin was one of the better potential defensemen that was going to be on the market right now. So if there's a player out there with a year or two left in the contract, say like we were talking about yesterday about Kevin Shattenkirk getting traded from the Rangers, it's going to take a package similar to what the Leafs gave up for Muzzin for the Rangers to give him up.
Yeah. Now this gives the Kings multiple first rounders too, right?
Yes, it gives them their own and Toronto's. So now they have two in this draft. So they'll have.
So they have some currency. You know, what if they turn that Leafs first rounder into something higher for some other picks or a player? Like, so they have some currency to play with, and if you give Michael Fuda some currency to play with in the draft, he usually does good things.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a good thing that the Leafs got to jump on other teams. Now I know some people are saying that, Muzzin's a left-hand shot, so and they have already too many left-hand shots, but he can play right defense. He hasn't played a ton, but he can. And compared to an older Hume on the top pairing, having Muzzin along with Morgan Riley, I think that makes a pretty formidable top pairing. I don't think though, Russ, that the Leafs are done. I don't think you can say they're closing the shop and they're done until after the deadline. I think they've got over $4 million in cap space. They haven't put Nathan Horton on LTIR. They've got. I don't think they want to give up any of their big prospects, but I don't think you have to get a fourth line center and maybe another depth defenseman. I think that they're still in business.
Well, and I think. Sorry, and I was going to say, I think the other thing this does is, I just saw Muzzin live recently, and while he's not the fastest, he's still, NHL speed, but it frees up Riley now. I mean, Riley could be more offensive now. Muzzin could be the guy hanging back more, and then you don't have to be as fast, and he doesn't make mistakes. Like, that was the one thing I noticed. He still doesn't make mistakes. He's still a good outlet passer, and so, yeah, this is going to free up Riley a bit.
Yeah, and they really didn't have a defenseman who could lay somebody out and throw a big check. And I'm not saying Muzzin is any kind of enforcer because it's not. But I'm saying you need somebody who stands up people at the blue line. You need somebody who clears the front of the net and who does both of those things. I'm not sure if that means he's going to be part of their PK because he's probably going to play 20 plus minutes as a top pairing defenseman. I just have to say, be forewarned. I don't think the Leafs are done. I think they're going to look for, a Brian Boyle type of fourth-line center, maybe another forward if they're looking for size and fan paper, and if they can get themselves a cheap depth defenseman. I haven't said this on Twitter yet, but I'm sure I'll get a positive response with Dallas trading for Alexis. That they did because the plot is probably out for the year, and I know they haven't put the plot on LTIR yet, but they have an extra defenseman. They might be willing to trade Roman Polak, and if that's the case, you know how Babcock is with guys that he knows and he loves. So that could be somebody where they bring him back just on a short-term basis.
Yeah, that actually would be another good pickup for the Leafs if they could get him, and I thought the Alexei pickup was really good for Dallas because it's not like he's going to slot the same spot that Mathot is, but he'll serve a similar role, at least be a physical guy who could skate and give you 15 minutes a game. I mean, that's good. I mean, considering it's on such short notice, that sort of bails out their season if you think about it.
Now, I know you wanted to mention something about some of the post-analysis of this trade and how people were analyzing it, and that's the thing. It's like we're all sort of armchair GMs who look at this. I think this is a good deal for the Leafs. I think Rob Blake got some good assets for Muzzin, but I know that you bristled at something that you saw.
Yeah, I just I saw on Twitter that there was this prevailing thought, and people could find the tweet if they want, but it's basically like, well, the Leafs got Muzzin and the Kings got 3 question marks. And I'm thinking, well, if that's really all it takes, then every deal is like that.
Right.
And so, but again, it just seems like all of a sudden the Leafs make a deal and things become a little Toronto-centric. We have to give the Kings credit for identifying talent. They're good at it. For developing talent, they're good at it. For drafting talent, they're good at it.
Yeah.
So this isn't just, an organization that you're not sure about. I'm sure about them in every one of those areas. So I don't know how somebody could say that. And I'm not going to say that on every trade now, because if I do know the players, I'll at least let you know what I think. It doesn't mean I'm always right.
Right.
But it just gives you a little insight. They have their own insight, and obviously they liked what they got. They probably did ask for Sandin, and they probably did ask for Liljegren, and then they went with the next guy, he's ahead of Calle Rosen. I would agree with that. Calle Rosen may be quicker to the NHL, but if you're looking for more upside, Jersey has more upside than Calle Rosen does.
Yeah, and Rosen's 4 years older, and I won't mention the name of the person who tweeted that, but he's not a Toronto-based guy, and that was the thing that I looked at. But you could really say that about every deadline deal right now, because any draft pick, any prospect, you don't know what they're going to end up being. So you could say that about any trade that is being made right now, unless you're trading for Rasmus Dahlin, anybody who's 18 or 19 years old is an unknown commodity until he plays in the league and know what he ends up doing. Let's touch quickly on the Panarin stuff, because we'll talk about it more tomorrow in depth. Panarin came out yesterday. Daniel Milstein and said, "I'm not signing with Columbus. We'll address this at the end of the year." And Yama Kekalainen had a press conference this morning, and he says now the organization has a. And I'll just say this: it's not a tough decision, Yarno. I understand that you want to make the playoffs. I understand that you want to win. If he's not guaranteeing that he's signing, he trades. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'll give a quick one too, because my phone's dying. It's just one of those days. But
Okay.
my quick opinion is, I think they'll wait till the very last minute. They'll sort of gauge where they are, who they might face in the playoffs, and then if they feel like they want the own rental, then maybe they will do the own rental. But I think more than likely than not, he will get traded. And if they can get the right kind of trade where they get assets back that help them still maybe move on in the playoffs, that is possible. And it just might be with another team that they feel like can make a bigger jump than they can. So I think they'll be a trade partner for sure, but I don't think he'll do it quickly. I think there'll still be some time.
Yeah, they may wait until closer to the deadline to see how if they're still within a playoff spot. I mean, they're
right.
So if they start to fall back and they're in a wild card, then they may say, you know what, well, we may make it, but we don't know what our fortunes are going to be, and it's not worth not getting anything for him in a trade. So that's certainly possible. But let's just say, I think Panarin will be there on February 25th when we're doing our deadline show, and then we'll probably have to wait until 3:30 or 3:40 to find out whether he's traded or not. But it's possible.
I think that's the scenario. I think you hit it on the head.
All right, Russ. We'll end it here. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. So for Russ Owen on location and Mike Agello, this is HockeyBuzz.com. Thank you for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.